In the quiet hours before dawn, a story unfolded far from the glitz of red carpets and flashing cameras, one not captured by paparazzi, but known deeply by those closest to the hearts involved. Before we begin, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you never miss another story that goes beyond the surface, into the hearts, choices, and quiet goodbyes of those we think we know. This is the story of Wang, Shen Yue, and their daughter, the life they built quietly, the storm they weathered together, and the final gesture that told 1,000 stories with just one action. It had been 3 years since the birth of their daughter, a little girl who looked up at the world with her mother's curious eyes and her father's quiet intensity. To the outside world, Wang was still the poised actor, the idol, the heartthrob with an ever-growing fan base. Shen Yue remained the soft-spoken beauty with a smile that could light up any screen. Together, they had been magic on screen and even more so off it, at least for a time. Their relationship had always been private, shrouded in discretion, with only rare glimpses offered to the public. A subtle glance at an awards show, matching accessories and photos shared months apart, or the way Dylan once hesitated when asked if he was single on a late-night interview. But to those who looked closely, the signs were always there, a deep love, a quiet commitment, and a fierce desire to protect something fragile from the weight of public scrutiny. But love, as beautiful as it is, sometimes bends under the burden of fame, expectations, and the very different paths people walk. 3 years ago, when their daughter was born, everything changed. The little girl, named Yue, a blend of their names, was the center of their universe. Dylan would quietly rearrange his schedule to be home for bedtime stories. Shen Yue, despite turning down numerous scripts, never once complained about putting family first. Their love for their daughter stitched them together even when their own bond began to fray. It didn't happen all at once. It was subtle. A growing distance. More work trips. Shorter conversations. Missed moments. The small things, the important things. They tried. There's no doubt about that. There were late-night talks, attempts to rekindle what once sparked so effortlessly. There were weekend getaways, quiet dinners, and even family counseling behind closed doors. But sometimes, love isn't enough to hold two people in the same space. And yet, even in their unraveling, there was respect. Not once did either speak ill of the other. There were no scandals, no leaked arguments, no angry statements. Just a soft, mutual understanding that the love they had known had evolved, and now, it was time to evolve with it. The final decision to part ways didn't come as a shock to them. And then, he handed her a letter. Handwritten. Unfolded. No envelope. "I didn't want to text it," he said. "I wanted you to read it in your own time." She nodded, holding the letter with trembling fingers, knowing whatever was inside it was more than just words. It was closure. It was goodbye. But that wasn't the final gesture. That came when Dylan quietly walked past her into Yueshin's room. The little bed, the tiny bookshelf, the drawings on the wall, he took one last look at it all. Then, he reached into his backpack and pulled out a small wooden box, no bigger than a lunch container. He placed it gently on her shelf. Inside that box were 3 things: a photo of the 3 of them at the beach from 2 summers ago, a tiny music box that played the lullaby he used to hum to her every night, and a note, not to Shen Yue, but to his daughter. It read, "To Yueshin asterisk. Even when I'm far, I'm near. Even when you can't see me, I see you. I am proud of you already. Be kind. Be brave. Listen to Mama. And never forget, my heart walks with you, wherever you go. Asterisk. Baba. Asterisk." He closed the lid softly, kissed the top of it, and left without another word. Shen Yue watched him go. She didn't stop him. She didn't cry until the door clicked shut behind him. Not because it was over, but because it was done right. Respectfully. Gently. Fully. That final gesture, quiet, meaningful, loving, summed up everything Dylan couldn't say out loud. In a world full of noise, he chose silence with purpose. In the weeks that followed, he remained present, not physically, but through calls, video messages, little surprises delivered to the doorstep for Yue Shen. A storybook with a personal message. A custom voice-recorded bear that said, "Good night, baby girl." A tiny pair of shoes she had pointed at during their last trip to the mall as a family. Shen Yue never denied him access. There was no bitterness in her. Only a soft sadness and a steady strength. They agreed on co-parenting. On shared decisions. On giving their daughter a childhood free of conflict. Publicly, they never addressed their split. The fans speculated. Rumors spread like wildfire. Headlines screamed dramatic assumptions, cheating, betrayal, secret marriages, but none of it was true. The truth was quieter. Simpler. Sadder, maybe, but more real than any scandal. And sometimes, that's what hurts more, not the shouting, not the chaos, but the soft, graceful goodbye between two people who once dreamed of forever but found peace in letting go. In interviews after the split, Dylan would simply say, "Some things are too precious to be public. But I'm grateful for every moment. I'm still learning how to be the best version of myself, for her." Shen Yue, too, when asked, would only smile and reply, "Love changes form. But it doesn't disappear. We're doing our best. That's all anyone can do." And in those words, there was dignity. There was truth. There was a story much deeper than any fan theory. Not the romance. Not the red carpets. Not the perfect Instagram pictures. But the quiet commitment to doing right by each other, even when it hurts. Even when it's hard. And so, Dylan walked away, but not out of their lives. He walked into a new chapter, carrying the weight of his choices, the depth of his love, and the knowledge that some things don't end, they simply change shape. For Shen Yue, it was back to work, slowly. A role here, a photo shoot there. But always home in time for bedtime. For Dylan, it was the same. A project in Tokyo. A film in Europe. But never too far to miss a video call or a small birthday celebration. They had ended their story as lovers, yes. But as parents, their journey had only just begun. And maybe, just maybe, that was the most important role they'd ever play. So if you ever find yourself at the end of something you once thought was forever, remember this: endings are not always failures. Sometimes they're transitions. Sometimes they're kindness in disguise. And sometimes, the most beautiful things are born from letting go. Thank you for watching. If you found something meaningful in this story, don't forget to subscribe. There are more stories like this, real, heartfelt, and human, waiting to be told. Until next time, remember, love doesn't always end with a kiss. Sometimes, it ends with a quiet goodbye, a music box, and the unwavering love of a father saying, "Even when I'm far, I'm near."